Hello and welcome back to the Shmuseum. Today, I have promised recently that I was going to talk a little bit more about the finance side of supercars, particularly with the Shmeemobiles and with the imminent arrival of the Zenvo. So we're going to dig into that a little bit more and expand and explain a bit more about shuffling finance, refinancing, what I do with my cars, talk about Approved Motor Finance with whom I have worked for a long time, and I know some of you have as well. But before we get to that, Brad, we've got some stuff to show.
We do, because you haven't just come straight here this morning. You've gone past Topaz and picked up some more cleaning goodies for us.
Indeed. So I've swung by Topaz with the SLS Black Series just to try and get a lot of miles on it very quickly, really, to drive it, and after the extensive work at Avantgarde to make sure that everything is perfect with it. And this includes some new cleaning products. And we have stocked up big time here, including their new snow foam. We've got some interior cleaner, we've got some leather cleaner, because we do need to do a bit of car washing today. We do need to get this fully cleaned up, as we explained quite amusingly. When we picked up the car from Avantgarde, unfortunately, just up the road from them, they had a burst water main, so they weren't able to wash the car. I can't really hold that against them. Anyway, we'll go over this in detail. We need to clean up those two. The Heritage RS and the GTR Roadster have just kind of been chilling there since getting back from the continent, and an absentee, and some other things. Should we just start by rolling back to what happened before?
We need to, because we've got a few things to jump back to.
Firstly, a delivery that we very much needed, and then a collection.
Well, look what we have here, something we have been waiting for, a pack of timber ready to start the bill, kindly supplied by Holmes Hill Shepherds Huts, who have brought it to deliver to Barn 2. We're going to unload that with the forklift and have it dropped off inside here, ready for things to commence. This is the exciting part of the Shmuseum build that I've been waiting for quite a while now, but it's time to make it happen. We are unloaded. All right, down to the deck, nice and safe. Cool. All of the 4x2 that we need, a full pack to get started with this.
Today's a sad day, Brad.
For you, yeah.
For all of us. What are you talking about? Especially
all of us, but especially you, because someone has fallen in love with a Rolls-Royce Ghost.
I have, and the man from Rolls-Royce has just phoned me and said, I'll be there soon to take it back from you, which we knew was going to happen at some point. But we've had this for a little around a week now, and it's been absolutely amazing to live with. I think we've all experienced it from the front, from the back, and I don't think there's a finer motor vehicle you could ever experience, really.
I mean, you literally said that you would give up any driving experience just to be able to experience a Rolls-Royce.
Yep, and
lived up to all expectations?
And beyond, genuinely, from the looks, the comfort, the Rolls-Royce bespoke audio, the silence. I think I could sit here for a week with various adjectives and description words and still not complete what this car does and what it makes you feel like. It's absolutely wonderful. But unfortunately, it now has to go. So I guess let's get one last start up of this, as I'm going to drive it over there towards the shutter, and then outside, off it goes back to Rolls-Royce.
You look very sad. Time to go then.
It is time to go, and well, closing doors is far too difficult, isn't it?
So funny. Clever. Right, here we go. Hopefully Tom isn't talking, but the Ghost is off.
A few inches later.
And back to the present day.
Presents?
With presents.
I'm glad we're on the same wavelength here. We have presents.
With all of the stuff from Topaz. Yes, I think it's actually boiling outside today. It's a very, very hot day, which means we're going to have all hands on deck with drying the cars.
It's not even driving, it's everything. We just can't let the cars dry, so we need to be basically all of us out there with water and everything in our hands.
So let's get all of this unloaded. Let's work out what we're doing first. Probably the SLS first, I guess.
Yeah, let's get the SLS done.
And then we'll crack on from there. Here we go.
This is really dangerous, Tim.
Holding boxes and a camera.
Yeah, can I show you? Yeah, kind of. I've got two boxes under my arm and a camera.
This is where we're just going to bring it all over here for now. We have the VW camper with all of the equipment and stuff. Shall I help you with this?
Take these. There we go.
All right, all here for the moment. Leather cleaner?
Leather cleaner, that's interesting.
All sorts of goodies here to help us with this process. What do we have in this one? There's this more stain and odor eliminator.
Oh, interesting.
All the new Topaz products. So we'll pop a link to the Topaz products down below. Obviously, with all of my cars having Topaz PPF, we use all of their products here as well. We need to start attacking this. Look how many bugs are on the windscreen of that.
Yeah, not good.
Right. Time to crack on. That sound. So good. Right. SLS out first. It's not particularly dirty, but it does need to be made beautiful despite the sunshine outside. When it comes to something like this, it's more about just making sure we've had a run over. When we're washing it, we find all of the slight issues. We know about the PPF, we know about the lower splitter pieces that need replacing. We know about a few things on it that aren't 100% perfect. Just want to go fully through it, clean out all the cobwebs, so to speak, and get it looking beautiful.
That's so good.
You're antisocial.
I am, but when you have a noise like that, how can you not be? You have to share it with the world.
Right, I'm going to do my job and spectate. I'm joking. He told me this is like...
I mean, you're not wrong. On a day like today, when it's this hot, we can do with as many hands on deck as is possible, just to make sure we get this done as quickly as possible. Nothing dries on the car.
We need to get all the cloths ready, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, everything is as ready as it can be for now, so yeah, let's get it wet and let's get cracking on.
Wheels first? Did you just splash your face?
I did. That's the issue when you're spraying wheels and they have like the bolt holes that it
yes.
just splashes back on you.
Just what so I should stand back with a camera, right?
Probably.
Yeah, worst thing is for me, because I haven't got windscreen wipers on here, so...
with the glasses.
I've left mine off because I can see it just about this close. Yeah, wheels first, just to get any dirt off the wheels, and then we'll go on to bodywork after.
A bit of tyre cleaning later. Tell you what, the tyres from sitting around had got super, super dirty.
I've never seen tyres so green
and
brown, but they're clean now.
They look much better now.
Now that's done, I guess it's time to actually do the main body, and that's where you need to put that down and actually help us and not just watch.
Get involved.
Yeah.
Hey, I did that. I did parts of the front wheel.
Yeah, which we then had to go over and...
Yeah, that. Snow foam in use. Always spectacular. Then we're going to have to do a mad dash to work on shampooing and everything before it all dries far too quickly out here.
12 seconds later.
Time to get it inside so we can get it dried, other than having wet spots or dry spots everywhere all over it. Nicely done by the team. Straight inside over our drying mats just here inside the door. There we go. Right, we can pull the shutter down and dry it in the shade. Much better. You guys have done a nice job.
Not bad, eh?
Has to be said. Inside, outside. Going to park it up on the lift.
You gonna guide me?
I'm going to try, because this is, as we have measured, the widest of the cars here. We did actually the other day, just for fun, measure the track of them all, and this was by far the widest.
It looks actually really good now, it's clean. So good.
It's such a cool car, you know. It's such a cool car. Just the fact that you're sat right back towards the rear wheels. Tom's going to hate putting this on the lift, but it's what we've got to do. It's part of the process.
Although this will probably never actually live on a lift.
Not really, no.
It'll be a part of the museum side.
Wait.
Precision.
It's actually, do you know what? It's actually not that bad, but when you're in the car, you can't really see anything.
Yeah, and we're talking...
You know, there's a couple of inches on each side.
Yeah,
and it's super low at the front as well. But even this, being this low to the ground, still manages to get up fine. Like, it doesn't scrape, it just... Very goes up and drops into the track at the back. Done.
Perfect.
Which is remarkable. Like, that's the advantage of these lifts. You don't need to put in any extra ramps, because normally with a 4-post, the way it comes down to the ground, you'd have to be lifting some heavy metal ramps or something to be able to do it, and that's just hassle. This is all about simplicity and ease. Has to do it, doesn't he?
He's being a yobbo. But it sounds good, so we can't really...
You did take over.
We can't complain.
We were actually impressed by the ease with which that went on, considering it is the widest car that I own.
It's shockingly wide. When backing on, like, this is the only car I'm not comfortable doing it on my own. Everything else I'm fine with.
But you'll get familiar with it when you've done it a few times. It's just that you're sat right back And in the mirrors, because of how far you're sat back and because of how short the cabin is, you don't really think about it, but because of the A-pillars being so vertical with that extended bonnet, the mirror is so far back relative to where you're sitting, and you can't see the ground, so you can't see down there. With the car parked, let's talk about finance. Now, finance is a very, very complicated topic. And in fact, in different regions and different countries, it all operates quite differently as well. So obviously, I'm talking about this from the perspective of my cars here in the United Kingdom, and it varies a lot from car to car. Of course, when you're buying a car, you have a few different options as to how you go about it. You can walk into a dealership and buy a car cash, pay full up front, nothing to worry about, no repayments against the value of the car. You'll still have your servicing, your maintenance, your annual costs, your road tax, whatever it might be, but you own the car. You could lease a car, and even within leasing, while you know your upfront cost and your monthly costs, there are different options. For example, whether it includes the servicing and some of the consumables, or whether those are in addition. Then you have finance, and within finance there are actually many different options as well, such as PCP with a balloon, HP hire purchase, and these can all vary depending on your structure, the structure of the car, what your intended usage is, of course mileage limitations, different elements that all add up to create fairly bespoke policies. And when it comes to cars that I own, I've always done it differently from one car to the next. So something like the Ford GT was especially complicated because you actually had to pay a 50% cash deposit before the car was even built. In the case of this, that's something like £275,000 up front, and that needed some complex work, which is where Krish from AMF, Approved Motor Finance, actually was involved in that process with this, also with the Senna, and with every other car that I have here. But sometimes I buy a car outright, initially paying the whole value of the car. For example, with the SLS Black Series, when I bought that from Schalke just outside of Munich in Germany, paid for the entirety of the car because, of course, I was buying a car from Germany. It needed importing, and it just made it very easy in terms of my plans to do lots of miles, to respray it, to do the modifications. Obviously, I had a little bit to pay when I imported it. It was before Brexit, so I didn't have to pay the full VAT again, but still some taxes to get it registered and to go through the process to get it onto a UK registration. But what's quite interesting with the SLS is after owning it for about a year and a half, when the GT Black Series came along, I actually decided to refinance the car. So effectively to release some equity, to use that equity to then buy the GT Black Series outright. So it's kind of like buying the car from yourself a little bit later to give you that option to use money for other things if perhaps required. Obviously introducing a PCP style setup on the car with some payments each month until the balloon at the end, all agreed up front, and knowing what those costs are going to be involved with it. Now, in terms of other cars, obviously there are a few that I own outright, the GT Black Series, the Heritage RS, the GT500, etc. The GT500, when it arrives here, I have to pay the taxes and duties to get that registered in the UK as well. But then there are cars that you can do interesting things with, and this is why I wanted to talk a bit more about it, having touched on this topic on the Shmee 150 channel with the arrival of the Zenvo. Now, no secret, the Zenvo is a 7-figure car. It is a lot of money. It is terrifying for me personally to be spending so much money, but this is where obviously I've had to shuffle and adjust some finances, and it's very interesting with the GT now being 4 years on from when I initially paid the deposit. Now, with agreements, they can have different lengths, 3 years, 4 years, sometimes 5 years or even longer, but this was a 4-year agreement. So effectively, we ran towards the end of that, which meant that at that point, I'd basically paid off all of the car aside from the residual value, the final balloon payment. Now, you can adjust and shuffle sometimes these payments, these amounts, which meant that I didn't actually owe very much on the car. But what I've been able to do, thanks to the help of AMF, is to take out some equity from the car, to release some equity by refinancing it, effectively putting back in a new deposit, I think roughly a quarter of the value of the car, releasing some equity, some new monthly payments, but that's equity that I can then bring through to pay for the Zenvo, which obviously is very helpful. Similar story with the Senna, again, just shy of 4 years, we've been able to work the agreement with the banks involved to make all of this come together. It's very, very complicated. There's no kind of single rule for the whole thing. Obviously, on a personal level, I'm trying to build up, let's say, my equity, my future value that I have in the collection of cars, a little bit of awareness of values of cars, but mostly I enjoy driving them, so sometimes the heart overrules the head in terms of the decisions and the choices, but it varies from one to the other. There'll be cars where maybe I own the car 100%, in some maybe I own it 75%, in others maybe I've put in a smaller deposit as a means to be able to get into the car, to invest into the car. And take the GT8 for example, another one that I actually owned outright for I think basically the first 4 years of its life, but did then take out some financing, a small amount of financing, I think still keeping probably in terms of current values a good 50% or so of the equity in the car, but it all depends on the uses, the use case. And you know, in terms of my, let's say, whole portfolio of cars across the entirety of them all, I think I'm probably 50% or so in terms of equity, that kind of region. I don't know the exact number off the top of my head, but it varies depending on the purpose. It varies depending on what I'm intending to do with it. Like the GT Black Series, knowing I'm traveling around the world with it, by the fact that I own it 100% means effectively it gives me a little bit more, let's say, freedom for being out of region. Obviously you can see the advantages and disadvantages of that and exactly what I'm intending to do with the car. I want to do tons of miles, drive it loads. Maybe down the line it kind of retires slightly. Obviously I keep all of my cars in tip-top shape. That's very important to me, but it's something that perhaps I could look to release some equity against down the line if I'm intending to keep it long term, which I probably am. I don't entirely know, but AMF have been able to help me an awful lot. And I'm not just saying this because genuinely Krish at AMF, who's appeared on the channel before, has been the individual responsible for financing every single car that I've done outside of directly with dealer or manufacturer finance. He's been the one who has done it all, from the complicated stuff with those to refinancing the SLS and all of the cars that you've actually seen on the channel in recent years, which is kind of crazy. And yes, I think it's, like I said, it's something I wanted to explain a little bit more because I know adding a Zenvo to the channel is a massive step up, especially having the garage, employees and members of the team and everything that's happening. But it's one of those things that you can use in distinct ways to help grow your business, obviously different business finance options as well, and that I've been able to team up with AMF to set all of this up. So there is a link down before, obviously working very closely with the AMF guys, and I do recommend giving a shout out if you're interested in funding or financing something either at this level, but also sports cars, other cars, you name it as well. More information will be down there to explain all of that. While the guys are off doing car washing stuff, I figured I'm going to show you a little bit more of my growing Lego collection because it has expanded quite a lot recently. In fact, with some really standout things. The dioramas at the top, I love these sets. Small details, but look what we've got here, for example. Old F1 car, F40, 250 GTO, couple of challenge race cars, all set up around the pit garage. We've got the 488 GTE underneath. We've got a whole mixture of different cars around. In fact, I basically made that 2 shelves of Lego. Maybe when the Daytona is finished, it needs to go in that one as well. 2 shelves of Ferrari, I should say. Over this side, we've got the Porsche setup. Up top, we've got the Formula E car, 930, 919, 917, and again, a pit garage style setup. You can actually lift this up and down, all the things that kind of move around. Small details, hey? Having all of these is fun. And obviously the recently introduced McLaren Formula 1 car, sitting above the DB5, the Charger, the Mustang, all of the stuff, everything in here. The AMG set that we've got here, and I also actually picked this up recently, which I'm very proud of. The AMG team gift that they offered, those are actually super valuable. That's unbuilt in its box, and it's going to stay that way. That's the one I'm not opening of all of these, at least for the time being. Maybe down the line it will get built in some form. But yeah, there are a few others that have been added to all of this. I'm looking forward to seeing what comes next. Obviously we've got a couple more up here that need to be built. I can hear the rumbling of the AMG GTR Roadster outside as well. But while I'm at it over here, don't forget we still have some of these available. The Tarmac Works Mini GT, Ford GT and the Taycan Turbo S, plus the Tarmac AMG G63 as well, to add to the collection that we had also with the Senna and with the Shelby GT500. So these are available if you'd like to check them out. Those 3 are available right now. We'll pop the link to those below as well, should you be keen to grab those before they are all gone.
Cars are now...
Every time.
Hello, Siri.
Siri loves to get... What did it say this time? Here's what I found. Destiny. It's given me the definition for the word destiny.
I mean, I think a lot of car guys' destiny, I mean, they'd love it to be something along these lines, right?
Maybe.
Pretty cool. Anyway, as we were saying before Siri interrupted, cars are clean. SLS is lovely and clean, GTR Roadster is clean, and so way over there is the Focus RS Heritage. And do you know what? We've got a lovely little lineup going here from the Vantage Roadster sat on the end all the way through. Okay, the C63 is a little bit the odd one out, being stuck up top, but I've noticed something, Brad, and I'm sure you have as well, and I'm sure these guys have. There's an empty lift.
Oh yeah, we're missing 2 cars from over this area. We
are. Now, obviously, under normal circumstances, the little 1.2 Clio Dynamique would live up on top here with the E500 team car, tow car, underneath. And obviously the Clio is currently next door in barn 2. You guys know the deal of that. But also there is the E500, which is perfectly drivable, perfectly usable. So I propose just to complete the lineup and actually just add some oddity to this and some... I think someone in the comments suggested we call this Humble Corner. So I think to return Humble Corner to its former glory, we should bring the E500 and put it on the lift and complete the line of 7, 8 cars in a row.
Let's go and
Sort of, because there's 2 here.
Let's go and get the E500.
You get my point. Let's go and get the E500. All right, so here we are, up at barn number 2. My method of transport has been my legs, as you can probably tell.
Coming through!
Brad's, not so much. He's decided to grab the go-kart, and I know the floor's a bit dusty, but does that mean do skids?
E500.
There is an E500, but there's also now many tyre marks in this dust.
Wasn't me. Oh yeah, and as you might have seen, we've got wood.
Guys, you're about to go for a very dizzy ride.
Hold on
with
tight.
Brad on the go-kart.
Please fasten your seatbelts and keep your arms and legs inside the vehicle. Whee! That was quite good actually. Right, anyway. Whee! Don't crash into the bollard. Brake in, brake in, brake in. Right, let's get this open and then get the E500 out. Here we go. Oh, the Clio is here, by the way. Just living, surviving. E500 over to Shmuseum V1. Trust is just going up. And we're good.
I'm going to have to turn it down to speak to you. We've still got classic FM playing in here, which is so appropriate for this car.
Right, off that goes, and I'll go and chase him down in this fairly shortly. This is safe, don't worry. Tom thinks he's funny by braking. So my brakes work, just about.
Not yet, you muppet. I'm not even at the car. You can't use that. You're going to use that. Well, they're a little bit creaky, the folding mirrors, aren't they? But yeah, there we are, back almost in its rightful home. And do you know what? I've just realised how much that hangs off the back.
We probably should have checked that and watched that.
We also have a tow bar.
Yeah, I think we're going to be okay.
Which then extends it even further. Oh, we're fine.
It was just that realisation of, actually, we could have hit the wall, but we luckily haven't.
Yeah, yeah, it's like, it does hang off the edge quite a lot. But actually, then again, so does the sea, looking at that up there. I guess we've never really realised before. It's just because this is, being an estate car, it's naturally quite a long rear end.
You look like Tim down there, small. So, E500 parked up.
E500 is parked up.
Go-kart's parked up.
Now that, I mean, I don't know if I should say, but there's actually a faster version of this called the Pro, I think it is, which this one, I believe, does 26 kilometres an hour. And the new one does 46 kilometres an hour. And
almost 30 miles an hour.
Yeah, and Tim was saying to me, I'm really tempted to get the new one. The problem is, I don't know if I can trust Brad with it. Okay, that's not what he said.
You can trust me.
I think it was a consideration for why he hasn't yet bought it, because you're dangerous enough on this one.
2 things. 9bot, if you're watching, we might want to upgrade. Let us know.
Definitely
Second of all, if you guys think we should get one, either way, let us know in the comments, and we will see if we can persuade Tim to upgrade to the 9bot Pro.
And do you know what else they do?
I know what else they do. They do drift tyres.
They do drift tyres. So you're actually able to put very specific drift tyres on there without much grip, which means obviously it
more
just
likely
wants to
for me
slide
to
around.
crash into something.
Yeah, but also bigger skids if you don't.
True.
And you do love a skid round here. Anyway, E500 is now parked up. And do you know what there is left to do? Because we haven't actually yet done it. But the Heritage RS, the SLS, and the GTR Roadster all yet to go back on their C-Tech smart chargers. So I guess we should get that one done now.
Let's do it. Time for the SLS to go onto its CTEK smart charger. We've actually got the older, I think this is a lithium XS, but obviously now we have the CS1s, which will figure out exactly what battery type it is and charge it super easily.
These are lifesavers, because again, like, as silly as it sounds, whenever a car moved or went out somewhere, we were constantly making sure that charger went back with the new space and swapping them around, which, look, first world problem, I know, but this makes life so simple because you don't need to worry. They all go into a CS1. They're all exactly the same. I'm going to do it.
Oh, I've missed it.
Sorry.
It's all right, it's off. Sorry guys, you missed the most satisfying thing ever, taking off the protective cover.
They're all exactly the same, and as you said, they, you know, lead acid, AGM, lithium, it does the working out.
Yeah, and it's great for us. So we have in here, it's like a magnet connector.
We do. So here we have, once again, the CS adapter cable, so that you can then use the new CS1 with all of your older accessories from your lithium XSs, MXS5s, 10s, etc. So we'll get this one switched off. We'll get that one in.
Just here, right? Unplugging, or are we?
Yeah, just
unplug
on the
other end.
That went well, didn't it?
Unplug that one.
So pop this one in, which again has the indicator light in it, just to give you a rough idea of what's going on.
The magnet back
and then that one flaps just there. That one goes on there. There we go. We can get the little green light there, and then that will, once you turn it on, that will go round, work out exactly what it's connected to, what it's doing, and start the charge program from there. So let me pull this one out the boot, get that one closed. That's now all of them on their CTEK smart chargers, and good to go for next time.
I've made it back to the Shmuseum, and as you probably saw from the guys, this is actually looking really quite cool, having the cars all along the storage wall. Obviously, still quite a few absent, hence most of the lifts in their lower setting. But this is, again, something that I really like about the auto stackers, that when you see them looking like this, all of the cars just look like they're down on the ground. It's a really, really smart visual appearance. You don't have the 4 posts with absolutely nothing, and it's quite easy to pop them all up, especially when there are tiny cars like the Elise. There's a lot of spare space with that one. Today's been fairly productive, to be honest. We've got quite a lot done, car washing and errands, and I know the guys were probably misbehaving if I know them a little bit, but obviously I wanted to talk more about this finance topic because I know it's very complicated. A lot of people like to make assumptions in all sorts of directions, but it's not that you can necessarily explain everything because every situation is unique. Every car is on a totally unique arrangement. Obviously, with more mainstream vehicles, shall we say, you can walk in and there'll be predetermined, pre-specified options. But for many people, something a bit more bespoke, a bit more specific to their personal situation is quite helpful, which is why, you know, when it comes to things like this, as I've mentioned, I've always gone down the AMF route. And when it comes to working out what to do now with the Zenvo, which, like I said, is a massive step up in terms of, well, in terms of everything, to be completely honest, it's all basically tied together to make this kind of come together. Something I've had to be planning in the back of my mind for a while. And with the other expenses, like the expansion of the barn, which is why some of the cars are going to have to be making way at some point soon. 1 or 2 of them haven't entirely decided where we're going to go with this. GTR Roadster perhaps, DBS perhaps, who knows which else. But obviously in recent years, I've been very lucky because lots of the cars are worth more than they were worth. Things like the SLS, the C63, perhaps even the DBS, the Heritage RS, and actually at the moment, even the STO, the GT Black Series, the Ford GT, the Lusso is probably about the same. The Senna is down a bit. The SF90 is certainly down a bit from list price, but it's quite interesting what these markets do. It always changes. It's always different. And like I said, when it comes to financing, every situation is unique. So if you're interested, do check out Approved Motor Finance. Info is down below. And also, don't forget, we have a few more of the Tarmac Works Mini GT models too, so you can find them below as well. That's it for now though. As always, great day. So until next time.